Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bad Blind Moms.
We are two moms doing our best and probably getting it wrong.
Well, I know I'm definitely getting it wrong. Well, this is Stacy Cervenka, and I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, with my husband, Greg, who is also blind, and our two children, Leo, who is 7, and Josephine, who is 3, and they are both sighted.
And I'm Bridgit Kemming-Pulpeter, and my husband, Ross, who's also blind. We just relocated to Urbandale, Iowa with our 2 sighted boys. Declan is 8 and Duncan is 3.5.
And Bridgit and I have been friends for several years now, as we've also been friends with this month's guest host, Lisa Johnson. And the three of us have really gotten a lot out of the email listservs and Facebook groups and podcasts that are aimed at blind and low vision parents. But one thing that we feel has really helped us is our relationship with each other and our friendship with each other, and how when we are together, we aren't trying to convince one another of anything. We're not trying to change one another's parenting styles. We're not trying to sell each other anything. So that's kind of what we want. We just want to be your mom squad. We want to be a place where you can come and hear from other blind and low vision moms like yourself, and many blind and low vision moms who are not like yourself at all, because we're a very diverse community. So when we started thinking about this, we were like, well, if we're really going to let it hang out there, everyone's going to judge us because they're going to disagree with what we do, or, they're going to have something to say. So we were like, we just wanted to tell you from the beginning, we're bad blind moms.
And we know it.
There's nothing you can say that we don't know. Like, criticize away.
Exactly.
You're probably right. So
for sure. All the way. Well,
without further ado, why don't we talk with Lisa? Do you want to introduce our badass blind mom?
Yes, this is Dr. Lisa Johnson is here with us today. Lisa is the mom of 7 kids, and she is like
that she knows of
all the way. Exactly. Yes.
I don't want to claim any more than that.
There could be a few more hidden somewhere. Who knows? Lisa, you want to introduce yourself?
Definitely. So, yep, I'm Lisa. I am a mom of 7, a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So 5 girls, 2 boys fill our house every day with craziness.
Doing God's work.
Now,
Lisa, do you have a job per se?
I do. I actually have 3 jobs. I am an instructor, a college instructor. I direct a federal grant that serves low-income first-gen college students, and then I work part-time for a nonprofit organization. So I keep myself a little busy.
So 7 kids and 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Wow. So Lisa, to start off, we're going to get more into our main theme for tonight, which is, remote education or COVID and education and blind parents. But what is one tip that you can give moms like Bridgit and I? Like, do you have a time management tip, or what do you do?
Yes.
So we have all of our kids home with us, and some of them are doing traditional homeschooling and some of them are doing remote learning. And so what we can control, we do try to control. So with our homeschool kids, we stagger when we are going to give them one-on-one attention, so that we're not like being pulled in 6 directions or 7 directions all at once. So we get the remote kids going in the morning and really give them our attention to make sure they get going in their days, and then we work with our middle school and high school kiddo, and then in the afternoon, when things kind of slow down on the remote end, we kind of give our attention to our littles that need like a lot of direction. So we stagger our scheduling, and we're super planful. So Sunday nights I sit down and my husband and I coordinate who's going to do what on what day. And we plan our homeschool schedule and any remote meetings our kids have. So that's kind of what we do it to manage our time.
Well, we're grateful you are spending your Sunday evening with us.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
So this month, the thing we decided that we would have a discussion about is education during the time of COVID, and issues that blind and low vision parents might be running into when they are, helping their kids get through the school year this year, whether it is remote or whether they are attending school part-time or full-time. So Bridgit, I'll take it away to you, or it is getting so formal. So Bridgit, what are your children doing?
Well, my children, my little hellions. So yes, it's been interesting.
Bridgit, I think
yes.
it's sad that you refer to your children as hellions. I think
know,
they probably hear you say that and feel that rejection from you.
I look forward to comments.
Fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Yeah. Well, they are my kids, so not that surprising. But yeah, no, it's been an interesting school year. So we actually just moved from Omaha, Nebraska to Urbandale, Iowa. So actually right now, Declan, hopefully he will be starting school next week, but we're still getting everything transferred. But we started with the Omaha Public Schools. All OPS students were going to be full on remote learning. So we started for the first few weeks doing this. I thought it was going to be great. I thought we're at home, we're going to be on top of this, it's going to be fantastic. It was a disaster. Declan is on the spectrum. I don't think this is necessarily specific to being on the spectrum, but it was really, really challenging to keep him engaged on the iPad. I ended up having to stand by his desk all day and keep him on task. It was like I was in school because I had to pay attention to what she was assigning them at any given moment, and making sure he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. We really lucked out that OPS is using iPads and Teams. Both are accessible, and I'm familiar with both. So from that aspect, it wasn't terribly. Now, other apps, yes, there was a lot of accessibility issues, but it's been interesting. It's been a challenge, and I had one kid doing it, so I can't imagine Lisa. And I thought with Duncan, like he is almost 4, I thought we'll do some just informal homeschooling, get him initiate into an academic environment. And I had to spend so much time with Declan during the day just to keep him on task. I haven't really been able to do much with Duncan. So yeah, that has been our pandemic school situation thus far.
So has there been any challenge to you specifically as a blind person, or have they more been just logistical and nothing really from an accessibility standpoint?
Well, I would say, like I said, some of the apps, they were using iPads and Teams. Okay, both those are accessible. But if you're using Epic eBooks, that's maybe 30% accessible with VoiceOver, and that's being generous, I think.
Yeah.
It would get to a point where, and Declan's still learning how to use a tablet, so he'd get stuck somewhere and it was completely inaccessible. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what we're gonna do right now. So that certainly was a challenge, and became very frustrating. And don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but his teacher wasn't the most communicative. And trying to get her to maybe, are there things that we can maybe do in a different way, turn in assignments in a different way, and I never really got responses. And so that certainly was frustrating. On a good day, when there's not a pandemic, obviously there are things that as blind parents we come up against with school. But yeah, this whole virtual learning has been a real learning curve. And when you're dealing with technology and apps that aren't accessible or very accessible, it definitely, as a parent who's trying to help your kid, it's been a real challenge.
So Lisa, I know you're in a little different situation because your kids aren't remote, like they're not public school students who are remote learning. You're actually homeschooling them. So how has this been for you?
So actually, we do have three enrolled in school. So our high school daughter actually goes full time. Our kindergartner and fourth grader were set to go on the 3-2. Sorry, I don't know what was going on.
So you were saying you have a variety of different like situations. So how do you keep track of that? Like how do you do some of your kids have a lot of autonomy and?
No, nope. I would say autonomy is not something that we excel at all. Our high schooler takes control of her stuff, so that's fine. But our kindergartner and our fourth grader who were supposed to go to school, we got kind of really thrown into remote learning very quickly. And we were not only just remote learning, but we were new to the district also. So we didn't have any familiarity with like how public schools work here because we're formerly from Wisconsin, but then when we moved here, we were doing Catholic school, and technology use is not emphasized there. And so our kids had not ever used it like much for iPad. And so like there was a steep curve in even being on a tablet and knowing like we had to like teach things like here's where you plug in the headphones. Here's how you swipe, because, they just weren't familiar with that kind of stuff at all. And then when we get into the apps, I am echo what Bridgit said, like iPads are great. They are, accessible in many ways.
And we're good.
We're not only bad at motherhood, we're bad at technology.
Bad at technology. I hate to be such a stereotype, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, so our son, he did remote learning at home for the first 3 weeks. And the first day was really, the hardest thing for me was that, he was 7, so he knew how to use his Chromebook. He knew how to use a lot of the, I was able to show him how to log into his classes one time, and then he was able to do it. But it was tough for me the first day to know what he needed and when. So it started with math class. So I got him his math book and, stuff to write with. But then, oh, wait, no, there's the counters. Oh, wait, no, there's the whiteboard. Oh, wait, no, there's, the graphing paper. And so I was consistently like running downstairs to like get him more things. Like, oh my gosh, like how many tools do the kids use in this, 50-minute class? But I would say by day 3, Leo was completely self-sufficient. Like he knew when he needed to log in, when he needed to log out, when it was time for recess for the kids who were in school, when it was time for gym or lunch. And we kind of got into a rhythm, and he was able to, like once I showed him how to log on to Google Classroom, he was able to kind of figure it out for himself. But the challenge for that was he was one of only 4 kids zooming in, and then 3, and then 2, and then he was the only kid zooming in. And, that was sad for him to see every other kid in the classroom. So we relented, and now he's in school full time. So easy. And it's funny, a lot of times people talk about how inaccessible education technology affects blind kids. And I think what's often not talked about is, yeah, of course, it's really bad for blind kids. And that's perhaps what we should think about first. But there are a lot of blind parents who are supporting their sighted kids in learning. And if the technology is inaccessible to them, then their kids also suffer.
Yep.
That's so true. We had a conversation with our teachers that are working with our kindergartner and fourth grader on that topic. And I tried to take not like a, oh, poor me, I can't help my kid kind of approach, but more of a solution focused approach. So I'm like, this is what the problem is, but I have an idea. Can I present it to you? Maybe we can work something out that works for both of us. And one of our teachers are pretty amenable to that, and the other teacher is a grade teacher, and McKellen thankfully is able to do most of it on his own, but she was really open to anything other than her way. And I think sometimes awesome. That will be the reality, is that some teachers are going to be great, really willing to work with a parent, and sometimes they might not be.
And I think teachers are being pretty flexible now because they themselves have to be flexible in how they're doing things. So I feel like they've, at least here, they've given parents a lot of grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are teachers who have kids at home remote learning. So, you know, they're trying to, you know, I mean, some of them are physically in their school, you know, teaching in an empty classroom, you know, virtually, but some of them are at home because they have their kids at home. So, you know, I definitely, and my mom is a teacher, my sister's a teacher, I have friends who are teachers. So I have a lot of respect for teachers, and I can't imagine what they're going through right now. And I know some school districts are not really including teachers in, you know, the planning and implementation of any of this. So, you know, they're kind of having to catch up along with all the parents. But, you know, we obviously can't, as disabled parents, you know, as blind parents, we can't get lost in the mix either and let our kids fall between the cracks because of an accessibility issue. You know, we have a challenge in helping them with whatever it is. So, and I always tell, you know, people just assume, people are always shocked, like, oh, the school doesn't have to do that for you. I'm like, no, because I'm not the student. There's no precedence for a disabled parent, you know, beyond providing the, you know, print information.
Well, the ADA still applies, like the IDEA doesn't apply, but it's still a public facility, so the ADA still applies to you. But you're right, it's a little more, it's a little more of a workaround. Yeah. Because I know, like for Leo, last year, he does not have an IEP. So he didn't get the bus. In our district, you can only get the bus to school if you live like 5 miles away from the school or if you have an IEP. And Leo himself does not have a disability, but because we did, they kind of started as the ADA, and they allowed Leo to get bus service because we, you know, didn't drive. So, and unfortunately, that's
amazing.
Yeah, it was so easy. It was really great.
Because I never, you know, maybe I never really thought of doing, like, because and OPS like just straight up denied us. They once, because Declan has an IEP obviously, but once he was out of preschool, he no longer qualified. So
yeah, I challenge that. Yeah.
So now we live 4 blocks from a school. So
that's amazing.
If you could give blind parents one piece of advice about anything at all, what would it be?
Ooh.
Gosh, that question takes me off guard. I was thinking remote learning. I have a lot.
Okay, fine. Okay, you can share. What's one thing that you would tell parents about remote learning?
So I think one thing is, like, organization is so critical. I like kind of, Stacy, when you were saying, like, you were running up and down the stairs a couple times, that because they always need something. Yeah. And so we made a schoolroom in our house that I share as my office space, and everybody's got a bin, and everybody's got a table, and everybody's got a space, and everything stays there. It doesn't leave the room. And so at least if we're trying to find something, we know it's like in a contained space. Mm-hmm. And so that gives us a smaller area to cover when we're trying to find the math counters or the pencil or the code you have to scan to get into Clever. So I mean, that's been a really good strategy, is like super organized. Everybody has their space. Their stuff does not leave the space.
That is good advice. And, one thing I didn't think of when I was talking about the challenges that my family faced is, they gave Leo all his textbooks, just this giant pack of worksheets, just dittos. And, it was just this massive pack. They weren't in order. I mean, it was just, here, all the worksheets he's going to need for the first 3 weeks of school.
Same.
So, I mean, I threw out some worksheets that I was not supposed to have, thrown out. So he was constantly saying to his teacher, "I'm sorry, my mommy threw that in the garbage." And I was like, in the background, I was like, "Sorry." Like, I thought that was
bad blind mom.
Bad blind mom. Now, you know what? If I had used some alternative techniques, I would not have done that. Am I right, Bridgit?
Exactly. Yes, Stacy. Jeez. No, I know, because same thing. Declan got this. We went and picked all his stuff up the iPad, and it's just massive, like, packet of stuff. So Ross and I like went through and like we labeled textbooks, you know, if there were folders of important information, like we put some braille labels on them. So we also knew what stuff was. But I would agree, the organization thing, and I know that doesn't always come naturally to everybody. I don't know if it's good or bad, have some OCD tendencies. So I just sort of naturally like to be organized. But for this, for sure, it's like we had our bin, you know, that's where school stuff stayed, like on his desk, like these were textbooks, these were, you know, worksheets, you know, what have you. So, but yeah, it was intense, but you know, I think Lisa's advice is really, really helpful, because if you stay as organized as you can and just stay on top of it, it doesn't become quite as overwhelming as it can be.
And organization is going to look different for different people. Like you may not have, you know, a big enough house or a big enough apartment that you can, you know, devote a whole room to your kids' school. So maybe that just looks like, okay, I know for us, just even on the kitchen table, we had like, okay, here's the math pile, here's the reading pile, here's the writing pile. So, I mean, maybe it's just piles on a desk, or, you know, drawers in a cap. I mean, you know, finding ways to organize that work for you and your family.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to go out and break the bank, like buying organizational systems and, you know, all those things. Although I would love.
Or you can. Yeah, I was going to say, no shame, no shame. You could definitely do that.
Exactly. Like I'm all about the organizational system.
Oh, me too. Me too.
We grew into that idea. We did not like have things together in spring, and we just like my husband and I decided we're like, we can't live through that again. In the spring, like the kids just stacked their books up on a shelf, and the books were falling over. They were leaving. Oh, we found things in the yard and in the garage, and you know, and so we just knew that we couldn't do that again. So we had to problem solve that, and you know, we're fortunate to have the space to have a room, but even a dining room table can be great with maybe a tote or a basket that you keep everything in. So
yeah, because we had Declan's desk in the kitchen, and then we had these shelves, and that's where I kept his tote with all his stuff. So yeah, even if you don't have, you know, an actual room, office, whatever to, you know, utilize for that purpose, yeah, just, you know, take whatever space you can and do what you can with it.
And I would say my bad blind mom tip for this subject, if I had to give just one, it would be, you know, and again, nothing works for everybody, but like if you can make your kid as independent and resourceful, or I guess autonomous as possible, then that's less stress on you. Like if they, even if they just know, like, okay, first thing in the morning is math. I grab my math pile, you know, and I put in my password, and, you know, I mean, even if it's just as simple as that, because the more they know. So what would you say is your number one piece of bad blind mom advice on this topic?
Keep your cool as much as possible. Because I know I lost my shit a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, just do it. If you need to take a minute, take that minute. You know, if you need to go sit in the closet and take a minute, do it. So you can just keep cool, stay calm, be rational, and just deal with things as they come. So I am taking a lot of moments in closets, but you know, you do what you got to do to, you know, stay collected.
Yes.
And I'm the worst mom of them all.
So am I.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us. And we would love to hear from you guys about how the schooling during the time of COVID has been going for you all. What have your kids been doing? Have they been working remotely? Have they been in school full time? Are you just homeschooling them entirely? What have been the challenges that you faced? You know, share with us in comments on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, and let us know how things are going for you. And we look forward to talking to you next month.